Well, hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to this week's new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. BoomStick XL, and folks, we don't have much to talk about. I had to really kind of just throw some things together because there's been no freaking news, and of course, I'm lying through my teeth. There has been a ton of news. In fact, so much news that we're probably not going to get to everything. And of course, if you are a part of Xbox Nation, and real quick, if you are someone that just only games on PlayStation or Nintendo Switch or even PC, everyone's welcome here. This is a an inclusive kind of a podcast and channel. Listen, there are a lot of people that have been on the other side of the aisle and enjoyed many years of PlayStation's first party games, right? And I think a lot of those gamers that were there left the Xbox 360 era for, a very shaky start to 2013's Xbox One era. And I think that after yesterday's absolutely stunning and impressive single player campaign overview, it's safe to say that not only did 343 calm the nerves of current Xbox fans, I think that they answered the question on whether or not, if you are an only PlayStation owner, should you come back to Xbox? And the answer is absolutely. I think what they've done so far this year has been nothing short of the best year in Xbox gaming since the Xbox 360. I would even dare say that if you look at what they've done and what they're going to do in the next 3 months, I mean, even if they just launched Age of Empires, which just came out, and that obviously is for PC. You got Forza Horizon 5 coming in November, and of course you got the granddaddy of granddaddy shooters, Halo, launching in December. I think that in itself is enough to bring everyone back. But let's get into the introductions. And first up is the cog that keeps this show running and on track, Zemi Games. What's up, brother? How the heck are you?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. Been super busy working on a bunch of things I can't talk about. But maybe
The
one day
nerve
I
of
will be able
you.
to talk
How
about
dare
them.
you?
I know. But no, super excited to be here. Tons of news to talk about. That new Halo trailer, or should we even call it a trailer? What would we? Maybe I'm going to call it a teaser. Looked absolutely incredible. Can't wait to dive into that topic.
Yeah, it absolutely did. It's funny because we Benji Sales, who is a prominent member of this community. If you don't know who Benji Sales is, you should probably give that dude a follow on Twitter. Besides being an analyst in real life, outside of gaming, he does bring some big numbers to the table and to the conversation that we're about to have. I had Benji on a couple of months ago on Primetime Gaming. We're definitely going to get him back on. But he posted something very impressive yesterday, which we're going to open up the show with regarding Halo 2020 versus Halo 2021. Quite impressive, but let's continue with the introduction. Next up, you know him as many things. I somehow butchered this poor man's name for what seemed like years and called him Boxer Bear when I don't know where the hell the bear came from, but apparently is now a part of his being. You know him as Archimedes Gaming. You know him as Box of Empires, and we know him as gamer extraordinaire and also content extraordinaire. First of all, I got to tell you, welcome to the program. I also must say that tweet that you had put out a couple of days ago, where that you received a message that was absolutely the most disgusting thing I have read in 2021. Good on you, the way you handled it. Obviously, listen, if you don't know, I'm going to let him tell the story, folks, but I do have to lead with this. Many podcasters, big and small alike, right? Now, some of the bigger ones, we understand that it turns into a business, and they go like this when someone says something, very nasty, whether it be race, creed, color, sexual orientation. It's not right. But smaller guys like us here, like a lot of people that are listening here that are friends of the show that have their own channels, we read the comments. We take the time to potentially answer the comments, and I do have to say that even though I haven't received many of these disgusting messages, I have received some, and I got to tell you, folks, think about what you're going to write before you hit send, because a lot of us do this for the love of gaming. And our opinions are our opinions, but I think that it's safe to say that a lot of the content creators that I surround myself with aren't confrontational, that they go out of their way to put out honest content. And all I want to say, and this is going to go over someone's head that is just an asshole, right? So if you're just an a-hole, you're just going to be an a-hole, and you don't care what Boom is saying. You're not going to care that I grew up with the ideology that treat others how you want to be treated. It doesn't cost anything to be nice. But you know what? That's fine. I'd rather be on the losing end of that than to be considered an a-hole, a racist, a sexist, whatever you want to call. But by all means, please, I know it may hurt to talk about, but I think it's important to get it out there because you are an incredible content creator. Welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, thank you, Boom. Thank you for that intro. Yeah, like you said, sometimes you shouldn't read the comments, but I always do. I read each and every comment I get, and I try to answer each and every comment. And a couple of days ago, someone posted, and I quote now, "Amazing video, but you are German, so I've made a point to dislike it." And this is kind of the thing that I sometimes get, and in the comments, and I thought I'd just talk about it because the thing is, yeah, my native language isn't English. That makes it even harder to make a YouTube channel, to do it not in a second language. And I did that because I truly and genuinely believe that gaming is something that unifies us across all countries, all heritages, religions. Everything doesn't matter. The color of your skin, your sexuality, whatever. It doesn't matter. Gaming unifies us, and English is the universal language across the globe, and that's why I chose to do it. And that's why sometimes it really gets to me when people argue with me about that, and are like that. I can handle the Xbox sucks comments or whatever, but this sometimes just gets to someone, because I do put in a lot of work. I think we all do here in our channels and what we do, and then to see such hateful comments it just sucks. Nevertheless, the great thing really was when I posted that, is that for that one hater comment, I got like 300 positive and encouraging comments.
Yes.
And that's what this community is. This community is amazing. It's positive. It is not at all in any kind of way racist, sexualist, or the vast majority of this community is absolutely awesome. And I want to thank everyone who took the time to encourage me. It really, truly means a lot.
Well, listen, we're glad that you're here. Again, sorry that you had to hear such horrendous ignorance, but unfortunately, there are a lot of keyboard cowards in the world that turn to the interwebs to voice their very small and useless opinions, because in real life there are cowards, and they would never have the audacity nor the balls to say that to another human being. So again, hopefully you did report him. That is racist behavior. That's ridiculous. But we're glad that you're here. We're glad that the community came out in a big way, and that doesn't surprise me because our community is amazing.
It truly is.
Yes, it absolutely. Pong Soul, my brother. I felt like we haven't seen each other in a month, but I think it was last week. What's up, brother? How the heck are you? And as you can see, I'm going old school today.
Yes, you are. Boom. Love to see it. Love to see it. Doing great. Great to be here on a Tuesday as always. Obviously, we're down a couple of the brothers today. Look,
yes,
the handsomeness score of this panel took a hit without 3-bit, so we're going to have to deal with that. And obviously, we are down one of the co-mayors of Speculation Town. But hey, look, the show must go on. We're going to struggle through it. We're going to make this happen. But we're kind of like the initiative today. We're agile, right?
We are
smaller.
agile indeed. Yes,
that is right. So no, we got some big news to talk about. A lot of stuff happening. We're coming into that season. We're coming into the holiday season, and we get news all the time. And that Halo drop was absolutely fantastic. So I can't wait to talk about it. So let's get down to it, Boom.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully we did reach out and we did hear from the two members that gave us the heads up. I always worry because Unicorn Nation is always looking to ransom and kidnap members of the Xbox community and family. So thankfully I did hear from them. Didn't get any pictured video, so I can't confirm whether or not Unicorn Nation is potentially behind this, but we are going to make do with what we have in front of us. Listen, folks, in typical form of what has been a trend for Xbox, its fans, has been the Monday release of news. It seems that Monday is Xbox's day to drop bombs, and drop bombs they did. They late Sunday evening, we got a chance to, if you are someone that is into social media and you like interacting with other community members, and you do follow what's going on in the world, we about 7 o'clock my time, which is Eastern Standard Time, we got the drop that, hey, tomorrow morning Microsoft, 343 Industries, and Xbox are going to be doing a live stream surrounding Halo Infinite's campaign. They called it an overview. The video that they gave was 6 minutes and 20 seconds. I've watched it probably around 15 times. Obviously, I got a chance to watch on the big screen in 4K, and it just looked even better. But I mean, listen. Everyone is going to give their opinion on what they thought. You heard mine. I felt like I've been talking about this for a week. It was yesterday. I did 2 shows that were extremely successful, and a lot of people turned out for them. Actually, no, that's actually
you actually
3
did.
shows.
You did triple header, Boom.
Yes,
I was just going to say.
I jumped on Iron Lords and to hang out with my brothers, and got to hang out with Forte, which was pretty cool as well. And obviously he's a former panel member for Primetime Gaming. And then obviously at 12:30 I came back, did that show. At 7 o'clock came back, did the 3rd show, and I felt just as excited about Halo the first time I sat down, I watched it unveiled, to where we are right now. And it's safe to say, and again, I'm not going to give my opinion because you heard me talk about it multiple times. I do want to hear from the panel, but I will say that I think they have answered all the critics. But see, that's my question. I'll start first with Zemi. In the green room, Zemi, you had a lot to say, and hopefully you will reiterate what you talked about. But my question to you, very simply, is with the controversy that surrounded Halo Infinite going all the way back to July of 2020, which was when they unveiled this game, to right now, has 343 Industries answered the critics?
Yeah, I mean, of course, critics are going to be critics. They're always going to have something to complain about or, want improved upon or so on and so forth. There's universally, there's nothing that 343 can do to silence every single person, right? There's always going to be, people that have a problem with X, Y, or Z, and they're going to go on the internet and they're going to, communicate that, of course, right? But I think for the Halo fans that felt left, that felt, that felt very upset at the last showing of the Halo campaign that we got in 2020. I think that this small short 6-minute video definitely went a very long way to prove to those fans that this game has definitely came a long way since its last showing, which I think is incredible. I absolutely really did enjoy watching that video. I think that the game looks like it's a lot of fun. I'm, of course, still I have my concerns. I will always have my concerns until I play the game. I don't know how well that open world is gonna, feel to me as a gamer, but I think that it does look really, really fun to play. It looks like they definitely also took a lot of inspiration off of some other really popular open world games, such as, Far Cry, with having the different outposts to, go through and fight enemies and so on and so forth. It definitely is very, very vastly different from any Halo before, which I think is good in the sense that, it's going to bring in a new generation of gamers. But like I've kind of been saying a couple of times on this podcast, I just kind of hope that it's not so different that it, isolates a player like me who really, really enjoys those linear experiences. But with that being said, regardless of my own personal opinions of what I would, want, I do think that the game looks incredible. I think it does look really, really fun just by watching it. And I can't wait to get my hands on it and actually play it. Before I clicked on that trailer, I was fairly excited, but once I got done watching the trailer or the video, whatever we're going to call it, I was left a lot more, wanting to really anticipate, this game coming out. I felt a lot more excitement for it. And one thing I think that this trailer did really, really well was leave the viewer with a lot of questions, right? So many questions to where now I am really, really wanting to click, start on the campaign and play it as soon as it, drops. Who is that evil old lady, alien, lady that we saw? And as well as the I don't even remember his name, but he was like an elite that is, hunting down these Spartans. What's his story? I think that the trailer or the video left, viewers with a tremendous amount of questions, and hopefully all of those questions get answered whenever we get to play the game, on the 8th of December. But I am actually I'm a lot more excited now since I saw that trailer than I was before. But I still do have my concerns as to, how the actual game is going to feel whenever I'm playing it, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense. And real quick, folks, we got some breaking news, right, which is going to be on your screen right now. This is a new video that literally just dropped. It's a second trailer for Halo Infinite, and it says it's called, if I believe, The Banished Rise. So I'm going to play that live on the air. I'm going to let the music go. Hopefully Microsoft doesn't, throw me a zinger and give me a strike or anything. But here we go, folks. I'm risking it all for you. So here we go. It's 1 minute and 21 seconds. Let's hear what they have to say. And I say they, I'm talking about The Banished.
Hope. It makes you weak. Humanity clings to the belief that a savior will come, that a hero will rise, shrouded in armor to save you. It won't. Armor can be broken, bodies shattered. When you look back on these last days, you will realize that all you've built was a tomb. A place where hope dies.
Okay, well, I mean, listen, if that doesn't give you goosebumps,
play it day one with Game Pass.
I don't know what to tell you. I'm going to play it again as we talk about it. Again, this could be a topic in itself. Look, we talked about it last night on Primetime Gaming. I showed some back and forth stills of what the game looked like in 2020 and what it looks like now. Folks, All you have to do is there's two things, at least in my personal opinion. One, tip your cap to 343 Industries and that entire team, because they heard the criticism. Microsoft did something that a lot of people thought was very risque and delay the game. And after seeing what we saw yesterday, it appears that it was well worth the wait, and they're still polishing. Obviously, we're only in the end of October. We still have all of November, and we obviously have the first week of December when this game launches. I'm gonna go next to Pong. Pong. I mean, obviously, we're seeing this video in front of us, and it looks like what you would expect next gen to look like. Once again, the question has to be posed after what you saw yesterday, after what you're seeing today, hearing what the critics are saying, hearing what the gaming community is saying. My question to you is very simple. Has 343 Industries answered the call regarding they want a better Halo?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they answered the call with the flighting test, right? They showed us what they were going for. And I think the campaign was, what we saw as far as the overview yesterday. What you're seeing from this latest trailer is that they get it. They've nailed what the majority. Again, you're never going to make everybody happy, but that was one of the main hurdles, was to bring the Halo community, which at times can be very fractured depending on what Halo you're talking about, bring them all together, and all of the majority say this is what we're looking for, and they have done that. I think it's an A+ as to what they've shown us, what they've allowed us to play, and I think that you're seeing that throughout, social media. With it trending yesterday, there was nothing but positives. Of course, the clown show, the circus was in town. They're going to do what they're going to do, but they can't stop this hype train, right? They're going to get run over, because Halo is again, people with 4 and 5, because it was divided at that time. And I know there's plenty of super Halo super fans out here that will say Halo never really left. And you're right, it never really left, but it did divide the fan base, and it divided a lot of people, and they didn't hit the same, even with massive sales, the lasting impact that 1, 2, and 3 had, right? They all they did something well. Each 4 and 5 each did something well, whether it was the multiplayer, whether it was the campaign, but they never hit together at the same time, much like 1, 2, and 3 did. And I think this one right here with Halo Infinite 343 is finally putting together the complete package where the majority of the Halo fan base is going to come together and celebrate. And I think that, again, they are on the right track to launch and make Halo the king yet again. And again, we could talk about whether or not it ever lost its crown, but at the end of the day, a lot of people did forget what Halo really meant. And a lot of newer gamers have never really seen Halo hit the way that it used to. And this might be that time where that actually happens, because I think they have got all the pieces in place. The multiplayer, there is zero questions about. The campaign, what they showed, looked absolutely phenomenal yesterday. I will say this before I go on. My one thing, and this is a me thing and some other people, but again, all that trailer yesterday screamed was for co-op. That trailer and that world with the open world screams for co-op. The whole time I was sitting there going, what a titanic miss not to have co-op day one, because my God, I want to jump in there with friends and create utter chaos, being able to grab and, be able to call in vehicles when you want to at some of the forward bases, having your buddies attack from different angles on those. It's set up perfect. Now, moving away from that, because we're not getting co-op day one. I can't wait until it's there. But you give me semi-open world, the sandbox. They are embracing that sandbox feel. I love it. The only thing they need is loot, and I would be a looter shooter for me, right? That's what I was like, oh my God, you're giving me everything I've ever wanted, right? So I think that this one has got a chance to be special. Obviously, the plans for a 10-year plan have changed how they are approaching Halo, but I think a lot of people didn't realize how much they were looking forward to this type of Halo. And again, the Far Cry comparisons are fair. All that kind of stuff is fair. But this is the first time ever that Halo is going this route. And I'm truly embracing that whole sandbox feel. Yes, it's been there, but it's more so in the multiplayer. But that trailer reminded me of what I played in Big Team Battle, which is that utter chaos, be able to tackle missions from all different angles, deciding how you want to play in that world, having this finally the Zeta Ring open up like everybody imagined from, going all the way back to Halo CE, right? That when you first land and get off and you look out, well, now you're going to be able to look out and then go there. Which is going to, again, I don't think people realize, a lot of people do like the controlled narrative, a little bit more structured areas. Yes, some of them were kind of big and open, but you give me a fully realized Halo world now where I can travel, I can go find bases, I can go find bosses, I can go, whatever the case may be. I can fly, I can drive, I can do whatever, I can grapple the whole way there. That is, I think, what has been I won't say missing, because Halo obviously, defined a genre and is a pillar of history. But I think that it is a great way to open up Halo to a new experience. And I think that they have nailed it 100% from everything that I am seeing. Never expected Halo to come out and be this, oh my God, wow, next gen graphics. Look at all that. That's not what Halo is about. And again, the clown show and the circus in town, they want to point all this stuff out. Nobody cares. It looks ridiculously good. It is a cross-gen title. They are doing wonders with it, but it looks like Halo. It feels like Halo, and that's what's important. They've already Halo is an established masterpiece franchise, one of those benchmark franchises that other games have tried to live up to and try to catch up to and have failed miserably. And so Halo just needs to evolve within itself. And that's what they've done here with this, at least what we're seeing, map system with the world, with the bases, with the mini bosses, with the main bosses. Plus, it looks like they're introducing some great new enemies into this.
Yes.
But I am looking forward to the Banished as a Halo Wars fan. And again, that's my game. And I want Halo Infinite to be the biggest thing ever, because that means I'll probably get Halo Wars 3. But Halo Wars 2, the Banished, Atriox, and we did see glimpses of Atriox in that overview yesterday. Some people pulled out some screenshots, and you could see it was Atriox. It wasn't Eshram, right? So I'm wondering if Eshram is more of a second lieutenant to Atriox, and we get to go through Eshram first, and then we get to Atriox, or if they're going to introduce Atriox as a whole nother DLC add-on to this world later down the road. Whatever the case may be, the Banished is one of the best enemies in total ever created in the Halo universe, for me personally, my opinion. I think they are absolutely phenomenal. That trailer that we just played now, man, you can't write a trailer better than that. That gave me chills listening to Eshram talk about how, basically you think a hero's going to come save you. That ain't happening, right? It's awesome. I just love that. And I can't wait to jump in this campaign. Again, I wish I was jumping in co-op. I'm not, but I'm still going to have one hell of a time with the campaign from what they showed me, because man, this open sandbox, that's what I live for. Like I said, the only thing missing is loot. and this would be huge. But for me, it already looks like it's going to be phenomenal, and I can't wait to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, again, they dropped the overview trailer 6 minutes 20 seconds yesterday. They stealth drop the minute and 21 seconds. Banished lieutenant talking, basically, letting you know that hope is a weakness, which is unbelievable. And it's these kinds of unannounced campaigns that Microsoft and the team at Redmond for this part of their advertising seems to be hitting. Now, granted, they don't always hit, right? We've seen some drop balls. That's a reality. This is one of those drop balls that didn't happen for Halo. And I'm very happy for it, because the team at 343, which I have criticized, and I have been very open about criticizing why. See, I don't criticize because I'm looking for clicks. I don't criticize because it's we don't have a story to talk about. I criticized, their output for Halo 5. I'm not going to ever shy away from that. I did not enjoy that at all. I was not concerned, to be honest with you, on how Infinite was going to turn out. The minute I found out that the Banished were going to be the main antagonists, along with potentially, and again, this is just a rumor, the return of the Flood, which we do. And again, I've never read all the books. I've read a couple. I've never read them all. One of the things that we do know, and it has been talked about on social media openly, is Zeta Halo is where supposedly the Flood were created. So are we going to get into those labs? Who created the Flood? Was that us? Did we make the Flood? Or was that someone else? To basically wipe out X whatever. Maybe that we will find out about that. Maybe they're keeping the Flood behind closed doors, not to reveal too much. There was a lot of question, and I saw, and again, you have to wonder, right? When someone criticizes what happened yesterday with the 6-minute and 20-second trailer, there was a lot of question as to, well, I read it online. Well, it wasn't enough story for me. Honestly, I don't know what you're looking for. I got the grip of it personally, very easily, as a matter of fact. And I don't know if that criticism is coming from being honest, and you honestly didn't know what the story, it wasn't enough story lead up for you, or you were just being an asshole. I honestly don't know. But Age of Boxapires, which I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing, Archimedes. Listen, this is what we've been waiting for as Xbox fans since July of 2020, right? We have now, and again, I walked away from that trailer. I looked at the gameplay and I'm like, okay, yeah, there was a little pop in. It didn't show maybe as well as some people would have liked, considering that we're playing on the X. But I was like, okay, it's Halo. But after seeing yesterday's presentation, I mean, folks, I don't know how you could walk away and be like, yeah, the graphics aren't just where I want them to be, or it's too far away from the Halo that I know. Listen, folks, the reality is that if you want to play the old school Halos and you want that close quarter, claustrophobic, go to this level, kill a bunch of grunts here, and then move over to this one where there's one big bad, and then you get a cutscene. The Master Chief Collection is there for you to play anytime you want. I think this is the best foot forward for 343. I think it's the best foot forward for Halo as a franchise that is now 20 years old. Come the November 15th, change must happen. Now, maybe this change is too much for you, and if that fact is the case, I'm not going to argue with you because that's your opinion, but I would tend to disagree. For you, Archimedes, did 343 Industries, Xbox, and Microsoft answer the critics?
Oh yeah, sure they did. I mean, the game looks like the Halo I always wanted. It's amazing. There are multiple levels to why it is amazing. Let me start with the obvious thing, and that's the graphics. I mean, that was the biggest criticism after the showing in 2020.
Yes.
And like you and many others, I've been also very vocal about it. What the hell is going on? That in 2020, 5 years after $500 million of budget and 5 years in development, you developing one of the most advanced, apparently most advanced gaming engines, the game looks like that. And I think that's a fair point. But the thing is, the game simply wasn't ready. It simply wasn't ready, and didn't have anything to do with the pandemic, because the game was basically developed 4 3/4 of years without the pandemic. Yeah, the pandemic was only 3 months old when they showed the Halo Infinite for the first time. So it simply wasn't ready, and I'm really glad that they took the time to polish the game up, to add some proper textures, to add some proper lighting, to change a little bit in the level of detail and the animation work, and suddenly you have an amazing looking game. The game looks phenomenal. Pong touched on that, that a lot of people, no, I think it was Semi, pardon me, that a lot of people expected that photorealistic kind of game, but Halo always had a certain art style to it, and it is not that photorealistic game per se, but what they have shown, it looks really amazing. There's so much going on. I was actually starting to edit a video yesterday where I wanted to highlight a little bit how they added volumetric fog, how they changed the lighting system and the texture system and everything. But then I looked on YouTube, and I think I'm just not quick enough when it comes to editing videos, because YouTube was already flooded with comparisons. So I decided to post a little clip on Twitter and start to play Age of Empires instead. But the thing is, the game looks phenomenal from a graphics point of view. Now, from the gameplay feeling, we already know, we played the game, that they really nailed the gunplay, that moment-to-moment combat, the movement, the pacing. It is awesome. And the trailer confirmed basically that it's going to be even more crazier in this semi-open world. There's in the sandbox, you can do so many crazy things. Pong said it. You just want to jump into that world and go crazy with what it has to offer. I mean, there was this one scene where the Master Chief jumped off a cliff or a building and shot a bungee with a rocket launcher just to grapple hook to another bungee and capture that.
That was their homage to Battlefield, right?
Yeah,
there.
it absolutely was. It was that only in
Yes.
Battlefield, that everyone
only
is
in
saying
Halo.
that. And you know something, just to add to your point, Archimedes, one of the most interesting things was and again, I think this was done on purpose. When we knew we were going to get a gameplay trailer, I originally thought, wouldn't it be pretty awesome to get side by side 2020 versus 2021, right? Like, I thought that was a good idea. Turns out that's a dumb idea, right? I would have, and thinking back to it, I'm like, that's a boob move. What you do is you go back into this trailer showing a couple of scenes that happened in 2020, and they did that. When the two pods dropped down and the two banished guys came out, that was where Craig was born from, and they specifically went back to that, and they said you immediately can see the difference. Now, again, I don't even want to say here that it's subjective. If you can't see the difference, then you obviously need to borrow my pair of glasses, because
that's really not an argument. I put up a little clip with like 4 or 5 shots with a direct side-by-side comparison. It's also the Master Chief. You know that one scene where the Master Chief is not the Master Chief, the pilot is standing in his spaceship and clearing up the fog of the windshield, and then in outer space you see the Master Chief. You can really see, if you look at the ice crystals, how much granular detail they added. The Master Chief's armor looks incredibly detailed now, with all the scratches, the debris, and the dirt and everything. There's no argument. The lighting system completely changed. They went from that. They went to a dynamic global illumination system where you can really see when a light bounce happens on screen. It's still pre-baked lighting. We all know that. It's not with ray tracing, but it really looks good because it actually gives each and every scene that more natural looking, softer light feeling that you have in reality. When you look to the 2020 trailer, you can see that a lot of the buildings or characters look very monotone. Is that the English word? Monotone? Very simplistic. And that's simply because they are not lit properly. Yeah, you don't have objects casting shadows on themselves and stuff like that. They really changed that all these systems, and polished it up. It really looks amazing. And yeah, like I said, from gameplay point of view, I can't wait to play it. It kind of looks exactly like what we wanted from it when we discussed it like 3-4 weeks ago, when we had our discussion around here in this particular podcast, where we said, what do we expect from the campaign? And I said, and I think Pong also said it, we just want to walk around over that Halo ring and then come across, for instance, a base that you can just either liberate or just drive by or fly by and go to the mission that you actually do. You want to walk around and see some grunts fighting over whatever, and you have the choice to either intervene and do something about it or just drive by. And that is how that world looked to me. I was really surprised that we have this deep level of customization. There's actually kind of an experience system, and you can really already almost to RPG system like system where you can improve certain skills and stuff like that. Awesome, man. Like Bong said, the only thing missing is loot now. It's
I was waiting for the mini bosses to explode with a bunch of colors and stuff dropping.
Yes. Mini bosses. Talk about that. There were named bosses. Named bosses. Do we actually get proper boss fights now? I'm super pumped. And we have seen a lot of different shots from the Zeta Halo ring. What they have also shown, and it really looks incredible, is some inside shots of some Forerunner buildings, with those metallic neon-looking lights. Absolutely gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. It looks a lot darker than, for instance, when you compare that to Halo 4 or 5 in its art style. The very bright colors. This looks a little bit more darker, a little bit more gritty. It reminded me really of Halo Combat Evolved when you first see the Flood, and my bet is still on with Return of the Flood, because after the end of Halo Wars 2, the DLC of Halo Wars 2, there's actually zero doubt in my mind that when you have the Banished as the enemies, you kind of have to have the Flood. It would be. I would be truly surprised if the Flood isn't in there. And we said it in the green room right before the show. What we have seen from the story right now, with Ashram as the antagonist and everything, I think that's only the first 2-3 hours, maybe 4 hours of the game. Mm-hmm. And then something will happen. You probably kill Ashram or whatever, and then Adriax steps in, and a lot of other things will happen. I think we have only seen a minor glimpse of what the story has to offer. And that's a good thing, because I don't want to get anything spoiled. And one last thing, as to the co-op argument, I've always said I played every Halo game in co-op, the campaign outside of Halo 5, because I didn't want to play that campaign again. But every campaign I play the first time solo anyway. I want to immerse myself in the world. I want to enjoy the story on my own pacing. Don't want to get distracted by my buddies playing with me, and that's why my plan is anyways to play the campaign one time solo, explore all what the Halo ring has to offer. And it would have been great to have it at launch. It's not a deal breaker for me personally that it isn't there at launch. I will be playing the heck out of this game. I mean, think about it. It comes out on December 8th, the last big game before February. There's literally nothing coming out in between 8th of December and February. And it's going to be the game we all going to play over the course of the Christmas and New Year's break, when we all have much time to play. This is the game to play, and it's big, it's giant, it has a full suite. We have a big multiplayer game with 23 multiplayer maps. No of the other shooters this season is launching with so much in the multiplayer. Then it has this giant campaign coming with this semi-open world Halo ring. What other shooter does deliver that? Battlefield doesn't even have a campaign, and we all know that the Call of Duty campaign can be played in 5 to 6 hours. So this is no game brings so much content. None of the other shooters look that polished from what we've seen in the beta, and I can't wait to play it. It's going to be awesome.
Just
Yeah,
can you guys imagine though the co-op trailer? I've had this picture in my head.
Yeah,
I've had this picture in the head, like that whole scene where he comes up on that base and he's like scanning. Can you imagine if like the weapon or whatever her name's going to be in the end goes, Chief, this looks pretty tough. You might need some help. And all of a sudden you see Chief call in and your buddy drops in ODST armor out of the sky in the pod and lands right next to you, and you guys can go ahead and tack that base together. Oh man, there's so much they could do with it.
I mean, all you got to do is look back at co-op games in general. And I know we keep talking about Far Cry. I mean, there's a look again. This is not your dad's Halo. This is a very different Halo. Now, again, granted, I think specifically the tight corridor that I believe is still there, they didn't focus on, because what they intended to do with this trailer was say, hey, here is what we couldn't convey in the original trailer, this monster open world. Look across the map, find it over there, and get going. I know that there's been a lot of talk of biomes. There are going to be several. I believe you're gonna. We've seen what the forest one looks like with the mountains. I believe there's going to be potentially a sand one. There's going to be a desert. There's going to be a mountainous, winter-esque one. I mean, it's the Halo.
We have seen
ring.
that one scene where they had that burned area with these black stones where everything, all the plants were basically died off. And
They look like they were glassed.
Yes, and the crows flying around and everything, that looked amazing. Yeah, I agree. I bet we will see a lot of different biomes and a lot of different insights as well. Yeah, it's not just about the Halo ring. You know that we will be going into big buildings.
Yes. Maybe even different other planets. I mean,
I bet we will leave at some point that Halo ring. Yeah.
Yes, and we talked about this in the green room. One of the things that I think I'm not even sure if I mentioned. I might have mentioned it last night. I think what we're seeing is several hours into the game. I don't think that's where it starts, because there is, there's a lot to catch up on. How did Chief get, effed up where he's floating in space? What happened to Locke? Why is that one of the Banished wearing his helmet as one of his shoulder pads? Is Locke dead? What happened to Team Osiris? I don't know, but I think we're going to get all of that. I honestly, I said it in the green room, I think we're 2 and 3 hours into the story where we see this trailer pick up. Now, I could, of course, be 100% wrong, but I think that is exactly where we're going to be. But real quick, before we move on to one of the second biggest topics of the show, just for comparison, I want to bring up some pictures. I want to pause the gameplay just so you guys and gals can see what we're talking about. Here is 2020 versus 2021. Now, again, granted, I wear glasses, folks, but I have 20 plus vision when I wear them. I can immediately see the difference. If you can't, there are 2 reasons. 1, you should definitely get to an eye doctor, or 2, you're a fraud. And you can see that there's a tremendous difference. So I want to remove that real quick and bring up the 2020. Now, this is very flat. This is one of the still shots from 2020. You can see, obviously, Chief's armor is very flat. The palette of colors is, again, it is what it is. Well, let's bring up what it was from yesterday. Let's bring up yesterday. Let me close that down, and let me bring up yesterday's footage. And hold on a second. Let me bring that back up. Here you go, folks. That's from yesterday. That's 2021. I don't know. I mean, am I crazy to say that there's a difference here? Yeah, that there is a major difference.
And it's not just the texture quality. Like I said, it's also the lighting. If you look,
yes,
the armor itself casts shadow on itself. That is always something you should look out for if you want to see a good lighting system in a game. Can an object cast shadow on itself? Yeah. And they do it here really well. You can really tell where's the light source in the room, where's the shadow casting, and this just tells you that they really, really did a lot with the lighting system and everything.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think that in itself is enough to I think that just on still shots, we can quiet the criticism of, well, was it good enough, or did it hit all the the switches? I think it did. And if you don't, hey, listen, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not here to do that. I'm here to enjoy gaming, and I believe that when that game does release on December 8th, it's potentially going to be in many circles someone's game of the year. And I'm going to be honest with you, as if we had to vote today, what you see on screen is my game of the year, right? Because I'm a big Far Cry fan. I love the ability to tell the story how I want to tell it, right? Like I'm in the process of getting close to beating it, but I 10, maybe 12 hours ago didn't beat it, because actually I would have felt there would have been like an emptiness. But thanks to, of course, Greg Miller and those folks at Kind of Funny Games, I watched their Gamecast this morning, and god damn it, they sold me on Guardians of the Galaxy. I went out and bought it, and it's looking really good. It's a purchase that I'm not sorry that I bought. So now I have to race to beat this damn thing, because now I want to play Guardians of the Galaxy. And the struggles of a gamer, right? Like, wow, real world problems. I have to figure out a way to make room for another game to play. Shame on me. But I do want to get into now, Pong. I have to go to you first on this, because your Saturday show with Steel Rain was amazing.
Thank you.
And, like standard fare, I was making breakfast as I was listening to the show, and I was yelling at my wife's on the computer. She's like, "What are you yelling at?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not really yelling, but I'm like, yeah, Pong is right on this." And, speaking of Kind of Funny Games, last week, Matt Booty sat down with the team over at Kind of Funny Games and spoke very candidly about PlayStation and its blockbusters, and how Microsoft wants to be in that conversation. They understand the shortcomings of what Microsoft Game Studios has had in the past. Now, obviously, we're going to be privy in the next couple of years to their answer to this. But I really wanted to go to Pong first on this, because Pong, you had some very, very interesting things to say, specifically of what Matt had to talk about. Now, I have those quotes, and I want to read them off for people who did not watch the interview. I mean, there's a lot of people that, maybe you don't like Kind of Funny Games. I actually really do like them over there. I like just about everybody.
And I would recommend, even if you don't like Kind of Funny Games, go watch this interview. Yeah, because Tim Geddes, Blessing, Andy, and then they brought in Snowbike Mike. They did a great job. It's Kind of Funny Games cast. For anybody who wants to go watch it, it was a fantastic interview. So
yeah. Well worth I think it was an hour and 21 minutes before they started, before Matt had to get on out of there. But I want to read some of the quotes, and I want to go on. I want to go to you, because you said something very specific about his wording during your cast on Saturday, which of course I encourage to, that if you're going to watch Kind of Funny, please go watch Pong Soul and Steel Rain's show from this past Saturday. Trust me when I tell you, it's long, but you know what? If you're doing house chores, what do you care? You're listening to something. But here are some of those quotes from Matt Booty, who of course is the head of Xbox Games Studios. He says this, folks. First, just to bring it up, hats off to Sony and their studio system and the leaders that they have got there. I mean, it's fantastic. You can't argue with the quality and the craft and the games they have delivered that they're working on now, and the stuff that we've seen so far. So kudos and hats off to them. Now, he continues with, I tend to come at that less of one of those and more making sure that we are paying attention to fan expectations. I think that there's a certain kind of game that generates an anticipation that kind of becomes a big tentpole moment. It's a game that fits the intersection that everyone can play, and it's also a big world that you feel like you can inhabit. And I think those kinds of games are important. Now, he continues with, and certainly it has been a place where we have not been out in front. We haven't really had those sort of one-to-one with Sony there. And he acknowledged this live on the air, folks. I don't necessarily want to get into what's our Uncharted, what's our Horizon Zero Dawn, or what's our this, what's ours that. I don't think that does anyone any good. And he closes with, but you hit on a great point, which is what I take away was, what are those games that have got universal themes, that have got a big world that people want to get lost in, that have really well realized characters and really high production values? That is absolutely what we want to go after. Now, folks, whether you read between the lines, you go back and watch this interview or not, what this tells me is, folks, they hear us, right? Now, I love the fact that Matt Booty, Phil Spencer has said this, Aaron Greenberg has even said this. They're not chasing what a God of War is to the PlayStation fans and trying to build a God of War killer. They're trying to make games that are going to appeal to the mass audience that Xbox currently has, and potentially a new audience that Sony is currently very proud to have. There's a reason why we're getting a Fable. You know, we've wanted those third-person, story-driven, content-rich games. We're getting that. We're getting that with Perfect Dark. We're getting that with Avowed. We're getting that with Hellblade 2. And the list goes on and on and on. And the next 2 or 3 years for Xbox fans is going to be plentiful. But Pong, you said some things about his specific wording. What were your thoughts on that? And where do you feel on how he presented what Xbox is going to be doing, and that they are listening to us?
Yeah, so there's a lot in this interview, a lot. Matt Booty was, again, for being the Bigfoot of Xbox execs, the guy that is not very out in front in the public eye. When I was trying to think back if I ever seen a one-on-one interview with him, and I can't remember. It's
been a very long time. I
very
think
long time
when he got the position, Pong. I think it was like the last one.
Right. And so, but it was just great because he was just as transparent, just as forthcoming as can be with his answers. It wasn't all PR speak. Obviously he's not giving away anything, but at the same time, how he answered, there was a lot of great nuggets in here. So let's start, first of all, with the Crystal Dynamics comments. So I've watched this interview like 3 times. So I've got this down pretty much. But what stuck out to me was how he stated, and again, watching the interview, you could tell he was giddy inside. Like, he was so happy. But when he was talking about Crystal Dynamics in particular, he said, he used the word became available, right? And then he went on to say, I'd be remiss not to get this deal done.
Yes.
Okay.
You know what?
Deal
It's
or whatever
funny.
done.
Let me just stop you if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I have those quotes now.
Yeah.
It obviously, as the advertisement for the show goes, we were going to talk about Crystal Dynamics, and it just so happens that this is one big Matt Booty interview. Let me just read that for context for everyone, that as because obviously I don't want to false advertise, right? I don't want to, I don't want to be accused of, hey, listen, you sold me a different show, Boom. You're just like 343. No, take it easy. I want to make sure that you guys understand that this is like Pong was saying, this is a very, very monster interview. So much so that I had to break it up to 2 topics. But let me get to what Matt Booty had to say. And this, of course, is I pulled this story from WCCF Tech, who obviously were able to quote everything. I watched the interview twice, as a matter of fact, to kind of make sure, and just taking bullet point notes. It's sometimes confusing. So I'm hats off to WCCF Tech for actually putting out his quotes. And this is what Matt Booty said during the conversation with Crystal Dynamics. He said, I think we're at a point in the industry where if you got a team like Crystal Dynamics and that team becomes available, which has got a great pedigree, a good success, and a lot of skill, and through connections, and the fact that we have Daryl Gallagher at the initiative who knows some of those folks there that became available. Back to sort of what's one of my jobs day to day. I'd be remiss not to say, well, we got to find a way to make this work. They got a team that's got experience building the kind of thing that we're building. Who's worked with some of those people that's now available? It's not a standard situation because they are not usually billing themselves as a co-development studio like many places are, but we found a way to make it work. And I think it was through some of that personal connections we've got. So I'm excited about it in terms of what it adds onto the team that we've already got there at the initiative. It's too precious of a resource in the industry right now not to jump on that. And that is leading up to you, Pong. Please, by all means, continue.
Oh, absolutely. So really, there's a lot to break down here, but his words became available. How many times does a AAA studio like Crystal Dynamics with pedigree that they have just become available? Like when they're like, they just got done with Avengers. We understand that Avengers didn't hit well, but with a AAA studio, and I believe this is Gallagher's old A team. Okay,
Yeah,
now
100%.
they have multiple teams within Crystal Dynamics, so their secondary team could be working on something else. But I believe this is their A team. I don't think you go out and get them if it's not the A team, because Perfect Dark is way too important of an IP, and it's basically becoming a brand new IP at this point because it's been so long since we've had one. But I don't think you go grab the B team. I think you go after Gallagher's old A team, the Tomb Raider team, that did wonders with a historic franchise like Tomb Raider. So I think that how often does that become available? Because they are usually, right? We know how basic dev work goes. They are already planning years in advance because they have to know where their teams are going to be and what they're going to be moving to next.
What they're going to be investing in.
Correct. Square Enix. This is telling me that Square Enix legit didn't have anything for the A Crystal Dynamics team to work on after Avengers. Like, that's it. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Now, can
whatsoever.
I throw something
Go.
into the mix here?
Go.
Here's the thing, folks. First of all, I want to clarify something because I'm playing what I said in my head. I don't blame 343 for anything about false advertising. We were talking in the green room about how Halo 5, through their marketing, we was sold something different. So that's what I did not want to be accused of, as being Xbox marketing, selling you something and not delivering. So hats off to 343. I don't want to throw them into the fire. That's my misspeak. But I tried to find the goddamn story, and sometimes I want to punch myself in the face when I don't send myself stuff. But I know for a fact that I read Crystal Dynamics pitched Square Enix 3 projects,
Right,
and they were turned down every time, which leads me to believe, and I know Boxenberger he's salivating to talk about potential studios being acquired. So that is his favorite subject.
But in this case, it wouldn't be Crystal's decision to make. Crystal is on Square, so
it really
correct,
wouldn't.
correct.
But again, we have heard, and again, this is something that we've heard. Special Nick of Xbox Era, friend of this community, of this particular show, talk about. We've heard Jeff Grubb talk about this. We've heard other insiders that, and this is, again, you can go look it up, folks. Square Enix was not happy and has not been happy with the Western division, which is they currently own, which is Crystal Dynamics, and of course the Canadian version that the Canadian team that just did Guardians of the Galaxy and Eidos, right? So is it, again, when I don't want to go down this aisle, but Pong, you during your show on Saturday specifically said the wording seemed to potentially suggest, it's weird.
It's
right?
strange.
The AAA team just happens to become available and they're going to rent them out. I don't know about that, Tom.
Right. And that's the whole thing. And obviously, again, as Booty was stating in there, that talent right now in this industry is at such a premium.
Yes.
That again, to be able to just call up Square Enix and say, hey, can we rent your AAA, one of your best AAA teams out for and do a co-development kind of game? That just does not happen nowadays. There is too much money to be made, and Square is a great publisher. There's no way, unless, like you said, Boom, what we've heard is true. They turned down multiple projects from Crystal and just didn't let them go forward with any of their ideas. Well, then what's the point of holding on to one of the, to a great AAA team like that? There's nothing. To me, this says that there's more in the works behind it. Again, I know we're not going to go down that rabbit hole, but to me, the wording and how Matt Booty was responding to this, again, you could see the giddiness inside of him as he was talking about this. He said, Phil went and got the contract or whatever done. Yes. Right. And so to me, that means that there's more here, because obviously it would make it, we talked about this in the past. If Square is kind of disappointed, if they have lost a faith in Crystal Dynamics because they weren't happy with Tomb Raider sales, they weren't happy with Avenger sales, if they've lost that kind of that desire to hold on to Crystal Dynamics, then this makes total sense why they would become available. Xbox gets to walk in, rent them for a co-development project. Gallagher gets to work with his old teams again, which he knows inside and out. Phil and his team get to make sure that this all goes smoothly, that, hey, this is the Crystal Dynamics that, Gallagher was still running back in the day. And this is a great fit here. And then at the end of the day, after this project is done, they move in and say, okay, let's take them off of Square's hands, because obviously Square does not appreciate what they have. They don't want to
I don't
greenlight
think
any projects.
I'll say this, Pong. I don't think that's the only thing they got off their hands. And
Yeah. I mean, there could be a lot more. There could be a bigger play involved as well. Again, overall, if that's really what's going on here. I thought that part was very interesting. His wordage, his words that he used, his verbiage was definitely indicating that this was a unique situation, beyond unique situation, especially now in 2021, with the talent being so precious, to be able to go and get this team to work on a Perfect Dark. And I think that there is something bigger at play here, whether it's gigantic or whether it's just taking pieces away. I think that they're definitely looking at that. And if talks have not already happened, because again, my firm belief is that this did not just come about overnight, that this wasn't just Gallagher waking up at 2 a.m. in cold sweats calling Phil saying, Phil, we can't we're not going to be able to get this Perfect Dark done. You got to go find me a team. And Phil's calling up Square saying, hey, can we rent Crystal? No. This has been in the works for quite a while. And so this kind of confirmed my initial thoughts on this. I'm glad it's happening, but you could see Booty was very, very happy with the situation. And I think there was more to it. Now, to speak on as far as the his thoughts on their, third person, over the shoulder, narrative driven type games, where he talked about that. Look, he made it quite clear, and throughout this interview he did. He talked about how the studios are creative led underneath the Xbox umbrella. They don't go in. He said, my job is, the last thing they need is for me going in there telling them what to do. And he goes, we're not going to have studios make a game that they don't want to make. That's not what we're here to do. And he was very clear about that throughout all of this. His comments, these comments about this specifically, were taken out of context. Clickbait articles were written, all that kind of stuff. The usual was in play here, but if you go back and watch this interview, he was not saying that at all. And you covered it with his quotes. He was saying that, hey, we understand that our fan base does desire these types of games. But we're going to work towards those type of games, but we're not going to copy and
Yes.
pay Sony games just to say, hey, we've got our Uncharted, hey, we've got our God of War, hey, we've got our Horizon Zero Dawn. We're not going to copy and paste that. We're going to find studios that want to make these games, because it was interesting. They've already got some, right? We know Compulsion is working on one, and obviously Ninja Theory with Hellblade 2, we've got it there. And then obviously they've cornered the market on Western RPGs, which is a whole nother thing. But those are big, expansive worlds that he was talking about. But he was specific about the really, the big worlds that people can get into, and the characters that they can relate to, and the universal themes that those games bring. And so they've already got a couple studios working on some potential ones. But then also there, he said, and as Phil said, we're not done. He reiterated again, as Phil said, we're not done, meaning they're going to be on the lookout for studios and teams that are interested in making, that have these ideas that they can obviously propose to Xbox and say, hey, we want to make this game. This is our idea. They're going to be on the lookout for those types of games, because like he said, we have to listen to our customers and our fan base and understand that this is what they also are interested in. And all he was doing was acknowledging, hey, out of all the genres, out of all the diversity that we do currently have, which is absolutely phenomenal as far as diversity goes, this is just one area that we just haven't been leading in. That's all he was stating there. But he's stating also, we know, and we're going to go and fix it, and we've got some things in the works, and if something else comes along, we're going to go ahead and make sure that that deal gets done to cover that experience for our fans as well. And I think that that was the main part of this that he came across with. Again, it was throughout the conversation. He kept reiterating, it's creative led. We're going to let people make what they want to make. They're just going to have their eyes open. And if anything shows up on the radar, anybody comes to them, or they find somebody who wants to make this style of game, they're going to understand that that's going to be a good fit for their games lineup, and they're going to bring people in to get that done. And I think that that was the big part of that.
And I think you're onto something. Real quick, before I get to Zemi and Archimedes, I got to catch up with some of the super chats, and they're a little old, so I want to apologize. The first one of the day comes in from Drawn TJ. He says, "Good morning, Boom and panel." He drops a $5 super chat. We also have Keo Walker, generous friend of the show, and actually someone that DMs me with a ton of information on a regular basis. So Keo, thank you for that. But of course, thank you for the $5 super chat. And he says another Halo Infinite video was released on the Halo channel, and of course, thanks to that message, I was able, and one for Pong Soul in the private chat. I was like, oh, let's bring this into the conversation. And we have Sean drops a £9 super chat and says, yesterday's overview trailer was brilliant. The game looks sick. The trailer gave me Rockstar vibes. And in the delivery with the female narrator, you play it like a rock star, just shows their confidence. Indeed, apps 100%. I mean, I don't think I could have said it any better myself. So, yeah, thank you for the super chat, brother. And of course,
did you get that the new channel membership all the way at the very top? Did you get that one yet?
Hustle and Motivate?
Yeah.
Yes, actually, he joined last night. So if somebody,
okay,
yeah. So it's a big shout out to Hustle and Motivate for that. I want to go to Zemi Games, but I gotta read a specific tweet that that made me get very excited. Like I'm always willing to talk about acquisitions, because Microsoft, as we know, and Phil said in a recent interview with the New York Times, that they're not done. There's no rush for them. There's no time limit, and they're going to be continuing. But now, this Twitter user, her name is Millie A, at Millimand on Twitter, and she put out something that had me perplexed. Now, I answered her. She didn't directly answer me. Her bio says that she is a video game data analyst. She's stats crazy, and she owns all 3 consoles. And of course, this is her only public profile. And of course, her opinions are her own. But she says this: a few people have mentioned to me that Xbox has secured some sort of exclusivity on a big third-party title, and in quotes, not just to launch on Game Pass. And the terms delighted and ecstatic are being used when describing all parties involved. Now, I know we're talking about the Matt Booty interview. I know that this wasn't intended to be an acquisition talk, but I gotta ask the question. And I bring it up because of how, like I said, how Saturday's show went with Steel Rain and Pong, and we talked about just momentarily, moments ago, how Matt Booty is talking about, adding things. His wording, I just find it very strange that a third-party team as big as Crystal Dynamics is just, we tripped over them. Hey, look at you guys. You need a job? Because we're looking to make this game that we're having trouble with, and only you can do it. So when I read that quote, and I've talked to some people behind the scenes, I gotta ask the question: what if they acquired or secured the rights to Tomb Raider? Because, and I say that because if, let's say, for instance, they're not making another Tomb Raider, they have the IP, and I talk about Square Enix, and let's say Crystal Dynamics is going to be wrapped up in this game for 3 years, who else is going to make a Tomb Raider game? Because I don't know if if you dropped it into Eidos' hands. I mean, the Guardians of the Galaxy looks really good, but my favorite Tomb Raider, and Zemi, you talked about this before, is the second one. Rise of the Tomb Raider is a freaking masterpiece. I would love to see Lara Croft become first party. I think that would be epic. I don't know if that's what we're talking about here, but Zemi, you've heard what Pong had to say.
Yep.
And of course, you heard what Matt Booty had to say. I love the fact that he comes right out and says, we're not chasing, or we're not attempting to make our Uncharted or our God of War. I know some people will like, no, but that's the game I want. And you guys, folks, you're going to get that. But I don't know if I want them to chase that. I want them to do their own thing with the IPs that they have and potentially come up with some new stuff. Where do you fall in this Crystal Dynamics collaboration? But more importantly, what Matt Booty had to say.
Well, I kind of wish that Mav was here because I really need to renew my visa for Speculation Town. And, I also kind of wish...
You got two of the mayors here.
2 out of 3, so we can do that for you.
I also want to say this. I also wish that Scooby-Doo was here because I think we have a mystery on our hands. And, I don't think any of us can solve this. No. I think that Matt Booty did a great job and saying some things, but not saying too much. But he also didn't answer really anything super, super definitively whenever talking about the deal that they have with the with Crystal Dynamics, helping with Perfect Dark, for instance, right? I think that there is probably more to the story. It's kind of hard not to think that there is, especially, last week, whenever we were talking, I think it was last week, whenever we were talking in detail about Square Enix and the possibility of, an acquisition or, a part of Square Enix being acquired by Microsoft. I think it's really, really kind of hard to, to not go down that rabbit hole of thinking and speculating whenever, there's just a lot of things just that kind of point towards that possibly happening. Then again, I'm also a big believer in coincidences. I don't know if enough, everything that's been happening, everything that's been saying, all the chess pieces on the board, I think might be a little bit too big to maybe just necessarily say, it's just a coincidence. Right. But I definitely think that there's something there, with, especially now considering, Matt Booty's statement. And then whenever we go to and we're talking about the whole idea of PlayStation, first party games and those types of games being wanted on Xbox, I think it's pretty obvious that what PlayStation does over there with their first party is beloved by a lot of gamers, and the type of content, the games that they create are just absolutely incredible experiences for players to jump into. And it's something that really hasn't been very available on Xbox. I think that there's a huge market for the games that Sony make, and I think that there's a lot of people on Xbox that would be interested in those games as well. So I think it kind of becomes a no-brainer that that Xbox wants to create some games that are like that. But also kind of harkening back to Xbox's idea on this, Xbox has kind of, a lot of people at Xbox has kind of came out and said, that they don't want to force any of their developers to make a project that they're not passionate about, which is very admirable and probably the best, way to go around maybe in game development. And that, they're interested in acquiring studios that would potentially be interested in making games that are like what, PlayStation makes. But just to kind of merge the two, topics together, Tomb Raider very much is a game that's very similar to what Sony puts out, and Crystal Dynamics, we've been talking a lot about the possibility of an acquisition. So that, to me, that just kind of makes everything line up even more as to the likelihood or the potential possibility that Microsoft could acquire Crystal Dynamics. I don't know. I mean, there's nobody from Xbox is coming out saying, hey, we're not doing that. You know what I mean? And everything just really is more and more looking like it's a possibility of a very likely possibility of happening, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I think Xbox should, add in more PlayStation-like games onto their platform. I don't want every single game to be that way. I think that would be boring, but I really love what PlayStation does over on their platform for first parties. And I definitely want to see more games like that on Xbox because I really enjoy, playing those experiences. And as far as the whole Crystal Dynamics possible acquisition, I haven't really seen anything that definitively says, no, this isn't going to ever possibly happen. I think, anything can happen, but I think it's looking more and more possible as a likely thing to happen, I guess. And I don't know. I don't like speculation. I really don't. But it's really
man,
hard.
it's always sunny and 70 in speculation
it's
town.
really hard because
you just like the unicorns and rainbows, Zemi. Come on, they're nice.
The unicorns and rainbows are nice. But it's just, everything that you guys have been saying, these last two episodes along the lines of Square Enix and Crystal Dynamic, and just seeing all the chess pieces, on the board, it really, really does look like something is happening between Microsoft, and Crystal Dynamics. And it very much looks like a potential acquisition of some sort.
Yeah. I mean, look, we know...
I can't see. I'm sorry. I just can't see Microsoft paying the money that they would pay to have a huge, renowned AAA studio just to help create a game, right? I just don't see that. I don't see why they wouldn't just go and hire more talent and grow their studios more rather than just go and hire a third-party developer. I just don't see it.
No, I mean, you make a lot of sense. And again, I love how you positioned it with the chess pieces being on the table. I mean, we can also bring into the conversation, why would not now IO Interactive isn't owned by anybody, right? They're their own, they're doing their own thing. Why would they sign with Microsoft to do the so-called 10-year plan with Project Dragon, right? Like if Microsoft wasn't going to acquire them, because again, Special Nick, who has an incredible amount of connections within the industry, had said, and sometimes I get them mixed up. Maybe it was Jeff that said it, that these three studios that Microsoft is working with are being quote unquote tested out. Listen,
it was Grubb.
It was Grubb. Okay, so it wasn't Nick. Okay, so I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think Microsoft knows who they're partnering with, and the whole testing out thing is preposterous. Like why I'm going to test you out to make a game and spend $10 billion making it. No, that game sucks. So you know what? Shame on us. We just lost the money. I don't believe that for a second. They're very calculated. They're also very close to the vest after certain, games that were canceled midway through during the Xbox One era. I don't think you're ever going to see Microsoft make a mistake like that again. So specifically working with Avalanche, working with IO, and now, of course, working with Crystal Dynamics. I love what you're saying. I loved what Pong had to say. Whatever Perfect Dark winds up being, right? I don't think we see that game for 24 to 36 months. Okay. And in layman's terms, 2020, end of 2023 holiday, potentially early 2024. I just find it very, very suspect how Square Enix like, yeah, take our team for 3 years, but you've paid us. It doesn't add up. So again, give me a Scooby snack. I think I have solved the mystery. But I want to bring Archimedes into the conversation. Archimedes, look, obviously this was a monster interview. Great on Kind of Funny for getting Matt for as long as they did. I think he was extremely candid. I think he was extremely honest and open about his thoughts regarding what Microsoft wants to do as a corporation, Xbox wants to do as a publisher. I love the fact that he came out and said, hats off to Sony. I've been giving Sony hats off for years because I do, in fact, love what they do. I'm not happy about $70 games and charging me $10 as everyone calls the asshole tax for the use on my PlayStation 5. But I do love their first party games because I am a selfish experienced gamer. I like that's why, like, when you talked about Halo, look, even if co-op was there, and I love you guys like brothers, if you reached out to me and said, hey, Boom, co-op, I'm going to be like, hey guys, I love you, but no, I want to put on the headphones, I want to shut the lights, and I want to just go into this thing. And after I've beaten it on the normal, then I will say, okay, guys, let's team up 2 to 4 people. Let's beat this MF on Legendary and get that achievement and get the true ending, which is normally hidden behind that, right? But for you, as a content creator who absolutely loves acquisition talk, where do you fall with that? And more importantly, what really, honestly, all jokes aside, what were your takeaways with what Matt had to say during the interview?
First of all, I want to clear that thing about the acquisition talk because I just
like it with substance. I understand.
I like it with substance, yes. Exactly, and we didn't get any substance either from Matt now or over the last, let's say, 6 months. We didn't get anything with substance. That's my thing. The thing is with this interview from Matt, to focus on that because. That was really a good interview, and I was actually kind of surprised that they let Tim Geddes on it. To be honest, I've said it before. I don't agree with a lot of his takes. The famous Tim Geddes quote is, "Xbox Game Pass isn't even worth $1 because it's just old games." And that with that kind of mindset,
he's stepped in it a couple of times for sure.
And with that kind of mindset, go in and do an interview with Matt Booty, who is head of Xbox Game Studios. Is weird, but the thing is, Greg just became a father, and that's probably the reason why Tim had to step in here.
Yeah, he
did a good job. He did a good job in the interview. He really did. We learned a lot about the way how Matt thinks about the studios, their portfolio, and the way how he sees the development of the industry and his part in that, where the game studios will develop towards. That there was so much. The thing is, we all love the Sony games. We truly do. At least I do. I have had every PlayStation console. I have my PlayStation 5 right behind me. Love it. Great games to play. The thing is, sometimes we as the community focus a little bit too much on what is missing in that portfolio. Xbox is doing so much when it comes to diversity of portfolio. We could also ask the question the other way around. Where's my first-person shooter, third-person shooter, RPG?
I'm playing
where's multiplayer? I'm playing Age of Empires right now. Where's my strategy game on this or that platform? Xbox has a lot to offer, and I really liked the way how Matt Booty answered that question about a certain type of game. Of course, he would love to have a certain game, and he would love to have an engaging game. He would love to have a game where we as gamers can immerse ourselves in the world, in that we can connect with the characters, that we can just play a certain role. I think Xbox has a lot of those games coming because none other genre does it better than actual RPGs, especially the Western kind of RPGs. And we are getting those big times. We're getting Starfield, we're getting Fable, we're getting Avowed, we're getting the next Elder Scrolls, we're getting Outer Worlds 2, we're getting the In Exile game. These kind of super immersive games, we have them coming. What he didn't say, and that this is for me so critically important, is I don't want to force anything into my studios. I don't want to go over to a studio to In Exile and say, you have to do that third person over the shoulder linear type of game. No, that's not In Exile. In Exile does fantastic RPGs. Let them do what they want. You don't go to Ninja Theory and say, we're missing a fighting game. You do the next Killer Instinct. You don't do that. You let the studios decide, the creatives decide what they want to do. There are most certainly limits to that. Obviously, we just talked about Crystal pitching like 5 games to Square, and they say no. And I bet the same is happening in the PlayStation studios, in the Xbox game studios, where a studio comes to Microsoft or Sony, respectively, and say, "Hey, I want to make this or that game," and they don't just greenlight everything. That's for sure. But the important thing is that Xbox is not going to the studios and telling a certain studio, you have to do a racing game or a fighting game or a strategy game or whatever. I love that. I really do. It just shows you how big of a mind change happened within Xbox. Yeah,
definitely the leadership was responsible, and I think that Phil's ideology is the reason why he's head of the Xbox. He's the right hand man of Satya.
Exactly. And Matt Booty has actually probably the biggest executive role within the Xbox organization after Phil Spencer. Leading the Xbox Game Studios is a huge task. And I love how grounded Matt actually is. When he talked about what he's actually playing, he's not playing. He's developing in the evening. He's developing games.
He's developing a game for himself.
For himself. You just see he's a developer in his heart, with a mindset. Obviously, he's also a manager. You're not in that position when you're not a hardcore businessman. But in his heart, he's also a gamer, and he does bring that across the spirit for his 23 studios that he oversees now. This is an insane amount of responsibility, a huge task, and he does it well thought out. And that is the important message for me from that interview. He really understands what game development is. He leaves the creativity, the freedom to the studios, and they obviously think about what kind of games are we missing, but they also think about what is it that gamers are actually looking forward. Is it really the third-person linear over-the-shoulder adult game, or is it more that game where they can identify themselves, that they can lose themselves in the world, in the characters, the story? And you don't have to have a linear game for that. You can do that with an open world RPG, for instance, and that's the good thing. It's all about making great games and not making one respective genre, and I really like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, I've said this before, and I did get a nasty comment about a week ago regarding my obsession with Banjo-Kazooie. One said person who will remain nameless said that I should just give it up because I look pathetic. Okay, so I want a game that I really want, and I look pathetic. So be it. I'll be a fanboy like that. Um, I've said this before. I've said it again, and I will say it one more time for the masses that missed out on it. They have answered 50% of my want, thanks to Special Nick and several others in the community that breaks these stories. Killer Instinct 2 is an active development. Now, we don't know who it is. We know it's not the original two teams that worked on it in 2013, and that's great. I know that we're going to get a Killer Instinct 2, so I'm excited. I'm still holding out for the Banjo-Kazooie. It's one of the things that they don't have in the portfolio. As a matter of fact, I know Zemi was a part of this conversation many, many moons ago, and we may revisit it. I talked about a kart racer. I think that it's almost lost on us as gamers that we don't have a real special Mario Kart-esque Xbox racer. We talked about this, and this is again. I think it's when you first joined the many moons ago, Zemi, that we talked about this, and we haven't brought it up. And I think I am going to write.
We should bring it up again. We should bring it up next week.
You
Let's
know
do
what?
it.
I'm going to bring it up for next week because
Life's short.
Life is short, especially with the world the way it is now. But I would love to have them have a Forza team, a small team within that subset of incredibly talented people between both teams. Turn 10 and the other team. Again, I'm not saying force it on anyone. They're very similar to what Archimedes said. They don't want to force you to do anything, and I absolutely agree with that. But there's got to be some people on that team that say, "Hey, I remember playing Mario Kart on the on the N64, and it was unbelievable. I remember playing Banjo-Kazooie Racing. It was incredible. I mean, not Banjo-Kazooie, Diddy Kong Racing, and it was incredible, right? It would be kind of dope if we did get an Xbox racer. But again, I'm going to save that conversation for next week because I do think it's worthy of a conversation. I will write that original topic. But I mean, listen, I loved everyone's takes. I do think that Mad Booty answered for me at least a lot of questions of what they're doing, right? And there has been some pushback with a lot of people in the chat, and we have almost 400 people here that don't want Microsoft to be Sony, and I absolutely agree. But I do say that we do need some single player games in there because as great as co-op and multiplayer is, I still think there is room, specifically because of Xbox Game Pass, that allows you to take a more risky chance on that single player type game that you see on Sony. See, Sony doesn't have an answer to why they spent $200 million on The Last of Us 2, right? Their answer is, well, we're going to charge you $70 and we're going to nickel and dime the shit out of you as fans. That's their answer. See, Microsoft doesn't need to do that. They have Xbox Game Pass, so they're not concerned on selling X amount of copies. Like, they don't have to sell 20 million copies of said game because they have 30 million customers in there now, potentially even more. But I love everyone's takes. Again, I'm sorry if you get sick to your stomach when I start mentioning acquisitions, but it's just lining up. And like I said, I'm Shaggy. So where's Scooby? Where's my big sandwich? And Pong, like I said, you brought up some really fantastic points during Saturday's show, which I encourage people to get out there and not only sub your channel, brother, but definitely check out last Saturday's show. You'll know exactly what him and Steel Rain were talking about. It was fantastic. But let me just catch up with some of the super chats that I missed, and then we get everyone out of here. We have Brian Hopkins drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, happy to get out of training today and get to listen to the cast. Hi panel, what's up, Boom? Let's go. Well, Brian, thank you for being here, brother. And Hopefully you don't got to go back to training. We have Gamers Play HUD Zero drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, sorry, late to the show. Some folks can't stand Halo excitement. Now Digital Foundry folks are talking about smoothness of animations. Game hasn't gone gold yet. The game is still 6 weeks out. Yes, and they're going to be doing a ton of polishing until it does go gold. So that's super exciting. And Space Davigan doesn't drop one but two super chats. The first one is $5 and says, the fact that Halo was expected to be shown on the 20th anniversary and dropped earlier, and now you add all of these rumbling makes you wonder. I mean, I said that I got a lot of DMs right before a late Sunday. People were concerned, like, hey, my God, Boom, are you concerned about this? I immediately said no, because I like what Space African just said we're not seeing Halo until the 15th anniversary for a lot, the 20th anniversary for a lot of reasons, right? It's their big push, but for them to show it as early as they did makes you wonder what they're actually going to show, because we're not getting any new announcements. But that doesn't mean that we're not going to get some Hellblade footage. We might get some Avowed footage. We may get something else that we know is coming out, but we're just not going to get any new game. And I'm okay with that. But for them to show it as early as they did before launch, they were confident, and they have every right to be after what we saw yesterday. And his second super chat of $2 is Playground plus Rare. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm dude, I'm all there for you. But let's get to the outros, folks. I want to thank everyone. Again, we had almost 400 people here today. That's big for a small show. If you're new and you enjoyed the banter, and somehow I didn't piss you off with, saying that if you don't like Halo, you suck, then consider subscribing to the channel. I don't know what else to tell you. Or, of course, if I did piss you off, hit the thumbs down button. It's still, it counts for something. Not the kind of counting that I want, but listen, consider subscribing. And of course, if you are already subscribed, hit the like button before you get out of here. And we'll start with Zemi Games. Zemi, you got a lot going on. Some of the stuff that I've been very privy to. I can't wait for you to be able to share this with the world. I think it's very exciting. I'm very happy for you. Talk about your channel. Talk about ConstantGamer.com. And where can people reach out to you and strike up a conversation on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. So my YouTube channel is called Constant Gamer. I post a bunch of gaming related video content on there, such as gaming news, some theory videos every now and then, let's plays and game reviews. So if that's your type of thing, definitely go over, check out the channel, watch some content. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button. Once again, that YouTube channel is called Constant Gamer. And then I'm also on Twitter at Zimmy Games. Feel free to give me a follow over on Twitter if you want. I usually post about gaming stuff, or sometimes I post some like personal pictures, like food that I just got done cooking, or so on and so forth. So if you are on Twitter, be sure to give me a follow on there as well at Zimmy Games. Boom, as always, fantastic show. Can't wait for next week's topic of does Xbox need a kart racer? But yeah, see you guys.
The short answer is yes, they absolutely do. I think it would behoove them, but we'll get into specific details on what that could look like, who could make it, and why it would be important to Xbox Game Pass. Again, folks, they have, I really got to give props to Archimedes, because he did bring up in the conversation when talking Sony versus Xbox. Sony is very one way, right? They have a very specific way of telling a story. It's very movie-like, but it's a very one-way kind of being, right? It's the over-the-shoulder. I mean, we've seen comparisons of all their games, and if you pull back and you put the screenshots next to each other, they do technically look like the same game, even though they're different characters. Whereas Microsoft, in their portfolio, it does have a much wider palette, which is extremely impressive. And again, maybe it's just me being, I'm never satisfied, but I would love to see them take on the fighting genre, which I believe they have, according to, many people in the industry. But the family-friendly stuff, listen, folks, I know that maybe platformers ain't your thing, and I hear you. If that, in fact, is the case, it's my thing. And selfishly, when you're sitting on Banjo-Kazooie, I feel it's a missed opportunity. And I know Phil has talked about it, and we're probably going to get it. It's just really a matter of when. But Pong Soul, again, I want to funnel people over to you and Steel Rain. You guys do an amazing job every Saturday. And again, hold out for that 6-hour show, because I think it's coming, folks. I think it is coming. But you're also on a lot of other podcasts, PM in the PM, which is a dope name. And thanks to, of course, the honesty of Mav, who couldn't be here, you came up with that. I think that is just, wow, man. It just rolls off the tongue. I think it's ingenious. Talk about where else people could find you. Where could people strike up a conversation with you on social media? But more importantly, subscribe to your YouTube channel.
Yeah, before I get to that, Boom, too, just because you brought up that Millie A tweet earlier,
Yes.
did you see Special Nick had quote tweeted that and what he said?
Yes,
Okay,
he did.
okay,
As a matter of
all right.
fact, Nick, if you're listening and you're skulking, all right, check your DM. I asked a very specific question. Nick, we're friends. I would even dare say we're brothers. Don't leave your brother out in the cold. But by the way, Special Nick is going to be joining us. I think it's going to be 2 weeks in a row on Primetime Gaming. He's working late shifts.
Nice.
So we're working on the schedule now. So yeah, Special Nick will be joining us in the next coming weeks. And Nick, listen, I love you, brother. Don't hold the information from me. I'll keep it to myself, but tell me, damn it. But yeah, continue.
Oh man, yeah. So anyways, I just want to make sure you had seen that, because I had tweeted on top of it. Nick liked my tweet. So hopefully, I'm not going to jinx it. So, but hopefully, Boom, something we've been talking about for a very long time is finally going to come to fruition. So it's sounding positive right now. Anyways, look. Fantastic show, minus a couple brothers. Miss you guys. Hope to see you guys back real soon here. Chat, you guys were off the charts. I was reading all the comments in there. Of course, just great discussions back and forth. Lots of different opinions. But for the most part, always respectful, and that's what's best about this. That's why we do this. The discussion should always be respectful, but we can have a difference of opinion. But Zemi, Archimedes, Boom, just awesome to be here this morning and this afternoon and be able to talk games with you guys. So like Boom said, find me Pong Soul everywhere, first of all. Xbox, Twitter, you guys know the drill. Thursday, PM in the PM, brand new show. We just had our first episode. Mav and I also deep dive Phil Spencer's interview and Booty's interview last week. So go check that first episode out. PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. Again, 2-man show, just like Steel and I do. We're going to pick out one, maybe 2, maybe 3, depending on slow week topics, where Mav and I are just going to go all in for a couple hours. So come check us out there, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, over on Fun Speculations channel. And that is obviously Thursday nights. So see us there. Friday nights, Xbox Ultimate, also on Fun Speculations channel. Mav, his amazing wife, Caitlin, rest of the Magnificent Seven. We've been down a few of the family for some weeks here. Hopefully, we may be getting some back here soon. But Mav is always filling in with awesome guests. We had Slow-Mo and Forte on last week from DPS and a million other shows. It was absolutely incredible. But just come check us out there. Xbox Ultimate, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Saturday mornings is what Boom has been talking about. Living split screen. Split screen is all one word. Myself, my brother from another, Steel Rain, who was in the chat. Shout out to him. Look, like Boom said, we're done talking about 2-hour shows. Look, him and I are 3 hours plus. So buckle up, get ready. You guys can have
nice breakfast, potentially a nice brunch afterwards. You're good.
Exactly. You know what? Hop in, hop out. We got people that do that every week and say, you guys are still on. Yes, we're still on because Steel and I just love to talk. So guess what? We cover the entire industry. So there's a lot of topics every week that we deep dive. We deep dive community stuff. We usually have a rant or two in there. So come check us out. Living Split Screen, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time in the morning. That's right. Set those alarms, 3 p.m. UK time. Come check us out. Living Split Screen. Saturday nights, the Shop Podcast. PTK Blam deserves a much bigger audience than he has. Been doing it for 5 years. Come check him out. PTK Blam's channel, the Shop Podcast, myself, obviously Centurion and Fuzzy Belvedere, and PTK also always nails it with the guests as well. Shorter show, usually an hour and a half, 2 hours, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time. Otherwise, this is the golden age of gaming. Gamers, I'm going to continue to say that. Play what you love what you play. Get out there and enjoy this. Look, I'll talk to you real soon. Thank you all for being here.
Well, thanks, brother. Definitely appreciate it. And you know something? At some point, you're gonna have to take a breather because my God, you're working harder than me. I almost feel like I'm like, maybe I need to bring back the show.
You got an empire, Boom.
Yeah, I mean, listen, again, I know a lot of people miss the 4th show. Like I have said on numerous shows, maybe I haven't said it here. It is coming back in 2022. I'm not sure what that show is going to be. Mrs. BoomStick and I are kind of working on what it is. It's not going to be an Xbox Factor podcast. It is going to be a different type of video game show that will be returning at some point on Thursday next year. I am happy to have taken a break because, man, I've been playing a lot of games. All I've been playing is really just Far Cry because it's just that good. But now I'm going to play Guardians and a few other things. But Archimedes, let's get you on out here, brother. You continue to deliver high caliber content on a weekly basis. The videos, the production value is as good, and I've said this before, and I will stand strong to this, as good as Colt Eastwood. If you like Colt's videos and the way he produces it, you got to definitely subscribe to Archimedes. The work that goes in, folks, behind the scenes. If you don't know, and I will say this, and I know I've said it before, every minute of production for a video, if you're doing it the right way, doing it the way that Archimedes, it's 1 hour per minute. So if he does a 12-minute video, he's probably worked on that video for 12 to 14 hours. People don't understand how difficult, and it's one of the reasons why I don't do the videos. People have been asking. I've been actually told by Randall Thor, he's a good friend of mine, hey, Boom, you should probably do more videos. You'll get more subs. I can't invest 10 hours, 12 hours. I'd rather do 6 shows. I'd rather do 6 2-hour shows than just to sit there. But Archimedes does it right. He puts the work in. He does the research. Please go sub this man. But by all means, sell your brand, Archimedes, and tell everyone what they can reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much for that outstanding compliment. I don't know about the quality, but I do put in the work. That is true.
Short, brother.
I can really confirm that. I can confirm that it's a lot of work, and but I'm having fun doing it. I hope I can make the time this week, to be honest, because Age of Empires has totally consumed me. So good.
Are you doing the review on that?
No, I'm not. Xbox DACH, the German Xbox department, had a little hiccup. They sent me the review code a little late, exactly 1 hour after the review embargo dropped. So all the reviews were already up when I got my code. But I will be definitely covering it on Twitter, and you will see a lot of footage in my videos. And of course, I will talk a little bit about it in the video I've planned for this week. That is probably dropping on Thursday or Friday, depending on how I can squeeze the time in. No, it's awesome, an awesome game. I can highly recommend it. Coming out Thursday this week. And everyone who thinks he doesn't have a PC to run it, it is playable via xCloud. So no reason not to check it out. It's fantastic. Nevertheless, I want to say thank you, Boom. Thank you, Sammy. Thank you, Pong. We had an awesome show. It's always great to be here. The chat has been on fire, like always. It's always a highlight of my week to be here, and I want to say thank you. And I can't wait for next week's show.
Yeah, me too. I always look forward to this Tuesdays. It used to be Thursdays because we had everyone, gathering there, and it's nice that we have everyone. Hopefully next week we'll have 3-Bit, and of course Mav had called into work, and normally he's readily available, so he'll be back as well. I gotta say that thanks to 3-Bit not being here and his handsomeness, I lost 100 views. Thanks, brother. Just want to say thank you for that. No, I'm just kidding, 3-Bit. But Listen, folks, if you enjoyed today's show, by all means, please hit the like button. If you are not already subbed to many of the people on this panel, honestly, I'm going to say you're doing it wrong. They put out good quality content, but I think more than anything, it's honest. And that's what you want in your content creation. You want someone to come out there and give you their opinion, not for a click, not for hate, not to jump on a bandwagon, to simply say, hey, listen, I'm a gamer. This is what I thought. And you might not always agree, and that's fine. But please support my brothers here. Everyone deserves it. And that includes 3-Bit on his channel, as well, of course, as Mav, and he has like a gazillion shows. I mean, like I said, I think Pong and him have outdone me 10 times over. Pong specifically, because the guy, I don't know when you sleep. Honestly, I don't know when you sleep. This is crazy, because you got a real life job. You still figure out a way to be an awesome community member and, put out so many great opinions. But folks, I'm going to close out the show with something that is important to me. Hopefully one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad said to us when he taught us when we were kids, real young, that you treat others how you want to be treated. And also it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules. And I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast.